I want my kids to outlive me and be prosperous. And, I want to see my kids get places and then depart knowing that they have places yet to go. That's where things will be, and that's how I want them. But it's scary to think of truly being here as an only child, and I guess that's what's really hit me most about mortality and basically reality. I'm sorry, I'm just. It's a big thing to explain. I'm trying to really be concise about how I explain what has hit me recently, and that is truly I recently got hit. With time and mortality and parenthood and children and offspring and future and aspirations, all this stuff has hit me very recently, very intimately, and I'd say what it has highlighted in my life that to this point I've been very proud of, and I'm still very proud of it, but it's a scary thing, and that is I'm an only child. That's kind of what's gotten me. I'm an only child, and it's not that I wish I had a sibling for when my folks decide to head off to the netherworlds, or netherworld. Does that have a bad connotation? To elsewhere, to oblivion. When my folks decide to depart. It's not that I'm scared to be alone, per se. I mean, I think this is all, perspective anyway. I don't know what I'm going to be like when these things happen, but I don't think I will feel disadvantaged in my parents' death by not having been given a sibling. In part because I have a wife who is my best friend, and she's awesome, so that's fantastic. And then also I do have some very, very good friends outside of that who I hold very dear and feel as though the connection I feel is beyond friends or your casual friends, your usual friends. These people are very important to me, and they are my brothers and sisters. These are very significant people for me, so I don't think that's the fear. I think it's losing them. In fact, I know it's losing them. My parents are so essential and important on their own and in my life that it's kind of crazy and literally all-encompassing. And it's that I think is going to wig me out when they depart. But it's how it should be. With this, if I really internalized and took on this fear, I could think, well, okay, how will I make things easier for my kids in terms of my death and the death of their mother? I could strategize at this point in time and think, well, there are ways to have, if you created a barrier, let's say, throughout life, perhaps you wouldn't feel so bad. Or maybe if I just snuggled them up to me and never let them go, they wouldn't feel so bad because our time on earth was together. I think there's a fine balance between letting your children go off and learn and then guiding them through what will teach them. It's a very interesting thing to see. I say all of this, of course. Well, I shouldn't say of course because I'm not sure if you guys know this, but these thoughts and this process is pretty hot on the heels of the death of both of my grandmothers, to whom I was really not particularly, I was attached, but I wasn't particularly close. I grew up actually in Arizona with my dad's folks, so I did hang out with them quite a bit, and then in Arkansas, in Little Rock, we were living there in the general area. They lived in a different town, but same state and not far, with my mom's folks. And it was really good. It is really good to have that kind of connection, but it's as a grandson. But it's been really interesting to see how in their deaths, my grandmother's deaths, how their kids, my parents, my mom, my dad, handle mortality. I guess at that point, is it, I guess the kind of question, I guess, at that point is it, they're not mortal. They were mortal. Because they were mortal, they are no longer mortal. I guess they're immortal in a sense. And that's kind of the question, what happens to the spirit? And I'm not going to get off on that rabbit trail, surprisingly. I'm really not going to get off on that rabbit trail. In part because I think I've covered it with my friend. And it's recorded and you can check it out. It's about the afterlife and the Messiah figure as he or she factors into that. He, she, it, whatever, factors into that. But I think really, what struck me as significant in my grandparents' death is not the question of where they go now, what happens to them now, not the question of soul or spirit, but how their death and the way they staged it, essentially. Because we all have we all have control of ourselves to some extent throughout the entire course of our being. And sometimes it's strictly internal, as we lose. I hiked here, and it's great to do that, and it's great to be here. As I get older, I probably won't be able to do this quite as easily. Of course, before I, am not able to really make the trek physically, it'll probably be the job and responsibilities like children and grandchildren that stand in the way of my doing this quite the way I have to this point. And I look forward to that. I really look forward to that. But, it's the question is in how you present yourself to those around you in the case of your life and even in the case of your death. So it's been interesting to see how my grandparents have affected my parents in their death.